Hey guys, what's up? Jared here, Dex and Dice. Ramblings of an LGS owner, and don't really have much to ramble about, honestly. I mean, I kind of do, but I don't, per usual. Um, but let's just kind of talk about collecting in general, your collection itself, etc., etc. Also, if you can hear the cooler in the back, I apologize about that. It started getting loud, or it's been loud ever since we plugged it in. Trying to get someone out here to look at it, but anywho, so your collections and just the general overall collecting, I guess I should say, it's all it's all kind of relative, like everyone always wants to do the buy low, sell high thing, or just find the best possible price, and that's just the way it is. Like, I don't blame anyone for doing it. I do it, everyone else does it. It is what it is. It's just baseline human, just boom. That's kind of what you want to do. And it's a little more pervasive when you're dealing with collectibles, be that Pokemon, MTG, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever. You know, um, the thing about most of that is everyone knows the bell curve and all that good stuff. Well, 90% of everyone is pretty much always going to be buying at the upswing or the very top of that bell curve. That's also just the way that it is. People complaining about spending over $200 on a Pokemon box or whatever, or $400, $500 on collector boxes, whatever it may be. Like, I get it, but that's just the way things are. It's always been that way. Typically, there was that weird time with the overprinting of collector boxes and other stuff, but it seems since like the last year and going forwards that things are starting to not go back to a past normal, but they're leveling out to a new normal that we all just pretty much have to get the fuck over and deal with, because that's just the way that it's going to be. Um, Even with Pokemon getting their new printing facility up and running in 2027, I don't foresee that leveling things off to a point to where you're going to see boxes back for that 120, 130 price range, even though MSRP for a Pokemon box is 164. But we won't talk about that because MSRP gang, where the fuck were you back in the day when we were selling shit at 80, 90, $100 a box when it would run us $90 to $100 a box just to buy them? But anyways, I digress. Um, it's going to probably be with Pokemon, at least in this instance, in my opinion. Once that little printing facility goes full blown just burr, you'll just see things go to MSRP of 160 a box, which I know is way better than what you're currently seeing now. But your days, unless it's a shop going out of business or there is literally a set that is just printed to oblivion, I don't believe you're going to see $90, $100 booster boxes for Pokemon ever again. And everyone just has to get the fuck over that and buy what you can when you can comfortably. Don't go broke doing this shit, but you're never going to time that bell curve properly on the downswing or the very bottom. Unicorn scenarios exist, but I'm just speaking in generalities here. So the best time for you to actually like buy anything is right now. Most of the times, the best time to buy is right now. You're never going to time the market correctly. You're never ever going to really be able to like figure that one out. You're just not, unless all you do is wake up and watch the markets, then yeah, sure. But you're the fringe. You're not the majority. You're that little bit of a unicorn scenario I just talked about like 20 seconds ago. Most of you, you're just going to have to buy what you can buy, where you can buy it, for what prices you can get it at, and or negotiate for. That's just how it is. And that's going to be true with Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh coming up, just because of what they're doing with the overframes and all that good stuff. I expect Yu-Gi-Oh to rebound quite nicely, honestly. But like what everyone is kind of focusing on, and rightly so, because they're tried and true, but like the big three, you know? Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. One Piece is doing good, but it's kind of leveling out, plateauing, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if the interest was just kind of people dipping their toes into the One Piece fad, I guess we'll call it, or not. But I mean, the prices haven't gone down, mind you, but I think the overarching, like, curiosity, demand, and all that hasn't gone up anymore from where it is. Which is a little weird because you would think that was something getting so popular so quick that it would just be, graph go up kind of scenario. But it really isn't. It's kind of there, but it's not. There's not really enough to be like, yeah, graph continue to go up. It's just that slow little, it's still going up, but not as drastic as it was. I think a lot of people are going to miss out on a lot of different opportunities as far as like the new games that are coming out. They're sleeping on them just because nobody knows about them, nobody really gives a fuck, there's not a proven track record, etc., etc. Like, I'll pick on Alestrals for right now just because I can. Alestrals, you've got Riftbound. Riftbound, I don't think really is a good indicator just because of the supply and all that good shit, but we'll throw Riftbound in there. What we'll do Grand Archive as well, just because it's kind of new. There's a whole bunch of other little new games out there that people are simply just overlooking and not giving a shit about just because they don't have the, like I said, the tried and true track record, which is fine, but I think people are missing a lot of opportunity down the road by not even looking at these other smaller games. Because let's be completely honest, the big three have been around for a long time. They are probably going to be around for quite a bit longer, but they're most likely not always going to be there, and something will eventually take out the weakest of the top big three, and it will become one of the big three, until, nature just takes the course and shit happens like it kind of is supposed to do. But it's also weird that you see these games where they've been around for a while, kind of like let's pick on Force of Will, because it's been around for a long time, but it had that really horrible launch. Or was it like Millennium of Ages or something like that, that completely ruined the entire game for everyone, pretty much reset everything to zero, and only the really diehard people for it stayed around and continued playing. But it has a really dedicated fan base. It really does. Same thing with Grand Archive. It's a small game, but it has a really dedicated fan base. If and when I get product, if I just sell it online, it sells really well. Riftbound obviously does the same thing, but I can sell all of that in shop, no problem, so I don't have to worry about going online. You've also got these upcoming things like Cyberpunk. I have high hopes for, but I don't have like unlimited high hopes for. If they're just basing it off of the video game and the anime that came out, they don't really have a lot of lore to pull from, and they could pull stuff out of their asses, to make different sets, characters, and all that, but I don't think it would feel right, you know. If they were to get the license or whatever to go back to the video games and the tabletop RPG stuff and all that, then sure, but I think them just creating stuff out of thin air would feel really weird. I'm not saying that it would be a negative and that it would cause the stuff to flop or anything. I just think it would be kind of weird, if the TCG creates something new that wasn't in the video game or the anime, people would be like, well, okay, sure, I guess this works. But anyways, and you've got Pal World coming out with their own little thing, which I think is kind of cool in that like joke kind of cool way, like the parody kind of way. I think that's kind of interesting. And maybe that's something people should look into as well. Like if Pokemon did really well, Pal World might do really well just because it's, collecting little critters. Speaking of that, Digimon. People are sleeping on Digimon for some reason, and it's kind of weird, but it's a strong IP and it's got decent sales and all that, and everyone is just focusing on the big three while ignoring all the little breadcrumbs on the table that could eventually, actually mean something, could be a good investment or whatever. And it's strange, and that's how that when you're looking at that is that you're pretty much just looking at Pokebro, Investor Bros in the TCG space when only the top three are really doing gangbusters, And as I've said it, Rudy said it, everyone has already said it, but once this cools off, those guys are going to evaporate like farts in the wind, and they'll move on to the next big thing, and whatever it might be. But the damage from that is pretty much done, I think. And I think it's done across the board to where those guys have been in the hobby for long enough to establish a new baseline price for pretty much every fucking thing, It's kind of like watching your stock portfolio or something, not the day-to-day or month-to-month, but if you go back the, 5-year mark or whatever, you see where you started, and it's gone up, mind you, and that up might only be 5 or 6% or whatever, but the graph go up, people, if that's what you want to go by. Your graph has done nothing but continuously go up, and even when it goes down to a low, if you are to follow that low, it's still nowhere near as low as it was a year or two ago when it was high. It's just down a little bit, but it'll come back up. And I believe that that's kind of where the prices are going to be. You're never going to see that baseline that you saw 5 or 6 years ago. It's just not going to happen. Because a new baseline has been established, everyone has just kind of accepted that's going to be the new baseline and go, So for everyone just now trying to get into it, or trying to be Timmy's or whatever and buy at the lowest possible time, oh, this shop over here has it for, like Rudy likes to say, his little scenarios he always gives is like, well, you're selling it for $130, I can get it for $128 over here at this other shop. It's like, that's cool, guy. Go save your $2 and put your time and effort into that and hope to God it's legitimate. Sure. But in the long run, that $2 isn't going to make much of a difference. And the sooner everyone kind of wraps their heads around that, I think things will be better. Things will level off. Because I think right now, in the past 6 months or so, the big thing has really been pretty much, I'm not buying this because it's over MSRP. I'm not buying this because it's $80 over what MSRP. Nothing is MSRP anymore. I've done plenty of videos about that. Nothing is MSRP anymore. Nothing will ever be MSRP anymore. And if you do happen to find a place that's doing the MSRP, they're doing it for 1 box or maybe 2 boxes on launch day only. And As I've said in other videos, in my professional opinion, they're feeding the scalpers even more by doing that, by giving them like an extra place to jump to in their little route to get stuff for MSRP. But anyway, I'm going to drop that. Sorry, I got a hair poking in my nose there. But yeah, I just kind of figured that that was just something I would ramble about, that people would just kind of need to figure out. And like I said, just accept that you're never going to buy at the perfect time. You're probably never going to end up selling at the perfect time either. And that's okay. That's just how everything is. Unless you have like insider information or whatnot, none of that will ever happen unless the planets align and God himself happens to just smile on you and give you the thumbs up, you know. So quit being butthurt about spending X amount over MSRP. Quit being butthurt that the singles are way more expensive than they should be. Just generally quit being butthurt about the whole entire like community scene, whatever the hell you want to call it in general. It's not what it was. It's not going to ever be what it was. And if it ever does go to being what it was, that means the entire TCG like environment, ecosystem, whatever you want to call it, is falling. It's everything, it's done at that point. We'll have another mid 90s, late 90s like TCG collapse, fall, whatever you want to call it. I think it was around the mid 90s, late 90s, somewhere around there. You know, where there were, like we have now, tons of, everyone and their brother had a TCG, and then they all just died. Most of them died. And we all don't really want to go through that again. It just, I wasn't doing this, you know, like this at that time, but I was playing a bunch. And it kind of sucked to see, you know, a card game that you had picked up and had only been playing for maybe 6 months or 8 months or a year shutter because it just didn't catch on or whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to throw this out there. It is what it is, guys. And I hate making videos like this because I feel like I'm just screaming into the void there, because I think there's enough people making videos kind of like this as well to go out there, but there's also enough videos that I've seen, you know, especially in the Pokemon hemisphere of things, where you've got the influencers being like, I'm not buying at MSRP. I stopped buying stuff because it's so expensive. I no longer buy this. You shouldn't buy this either. If they weren't buying stuff, they probably wouldn't have much of a collection anymore. If they weren't buying stuff, they wouldn't have backdrops that change ever so often with newer-ish stuff, you know? Granted, they might have found a decent little deal or whatever, but if they weren't really buying stuff, guys, you know where I'm going with that. So, yeah, these people, they get paid to do this stuff. They get paid to make the content. Sorry. It's pollen season. They get paid on their videos, they get paid per views, all that good stuff. So obviously they're going to say, whether they're 100% legitimate about it or not, they're going to say what they need to say in order to keep their people happy, to gain some new followers, maybe lose some, but they're going to do what they got to do and say what they got to say in order to keep that sweet, sweet, sweet ad revenue YouTube check coming in. So keep that in mind with the next person you watch that says, don't buy this, or everything is too fucking expensive, don't buy this, don't buy that, don't buy, don't buy, don't buy. They're bullshitting you. They're probably wanting you not to buy because hopefully that means there's 5 less local buyers in their area and there's less competition. But anyways, Sorry for the throat stuff, guys. It's pollen season and it's starting to show. But anyways, I'm gonna get off of here now. Leave you guys alone, and yeah, you know, take it easy. Life is not a dick. You don't have to take it so hard. You're a trash can, not a trash can't. Remember that. Just fucking do it. Be like Nike and just do it. And you guys have a good one. I'll bother you in the next video. Take it easy.